The oral microbiome plays a central role in regulating nitric oxide production, which has far-reaching effects on both brain and body health. Inside the mouth, particularly on the surface of the tongue, live specific bacteria that are capable of converting dietary nitrates into nitrites. These nitrates primarily come from foods like leafy greens, beets, and certain vegetables. Once converted into nitrites in the mouth, they are swallowed and further transformed in the body into nitric oxide, a molecule that is essential for vascular function. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule that helps blood vessels relax and dilate, allowing for more efficient blood flow. This process is critical for delivering oxygen and nutrients throughout the body, including to the brain. When nitric oxide levels are optimal, cerebral blood flow improves, which can enhance focus, mental clarity, and overall cognitive performance. On the other hand, reduced nitric oxide availability can lead to poorer circulation, which may negatively impact both physical and mental function over time. What makes this pathway particularly interesting is that it relies heavily on the presence of specific oral bacteria. If those bacteria are disrupted, the entire chain of conversion, from nitrates to nitrites to nitric oxide, becomes less efficient. One of the most common ways this disruption occurs is through the overuse of strong antibacterial mouthwashes. These products are designed to kill bacteria broadly, but they do not distinguish between harmful and beneficial species. As a result, they can significantly reduce the population of nitrate-reducing bacteria, impairing nitric oxide production. This has been observed in studies where individuals who frequently use antiseptic mouthwash show reduced nitric oxide levels and, in some cases, increases in blood pressure. This highlights the idea that the mouth is not just a passive environment, but an active participant in systemic physiology. The bacteria in your mouth are effectively part of a larger metabolic system that supports cardiovascular and brain health. Diet becomes a key lever in this process. Consuming nitrate-rich foods provides the raw material that these oral bacteria need to produce nitrites. Without sufficient dietary nitrates, even a healthy oral microbiome cannot generate optimal levels of nitric oxide. At the same time, maintaining a balanced microbial environment ensures that the conversion process is efficient. This creates a direct link between what you eat, the bacteria in your mouth, and how well your brain and body function. There's also an important timing component. The conversion of nitrates begins almost immediately after consumption, meaning the state of your oral microbiome at that moment can influence how much nitric oxide you ultimately produce. If the microbial environment has been recently disrupted, for example, by antiseptic products, the efficiency of this conversion may be reduced. Understanding this system shifts the perspective on oral health. It's not just about preventing cavities or maintaining clean teeth. It's about preserving a functional microbial ecosystem that contributes to critical physiological processes. By supporting the right bacteria through diet and avoiding unnecessary disruption, you can enhance nitric oxide production, which in turn supports circulation, brain function, and overall health. Oral hygiene is essential for maintaining healthy teeth and gums, but the way it's approached can either support or disrupt the oral microbiome. The key idea is that the mouth is not meant to be sterile. It contains a complex ecosystem of bacteria that play beneficial roles, including protecting against harmful species, supporting digestion at an early stage, and contributing to systemic processes like nitric oxide production. When hygiene practices are too aggressive, especially with frequent use of strong antiseptic products, they can wipe out this balance and create unintended consequences. Brushing your teeth is one of the most important habits, primarily because it removes plaque, which is a biofilm made up of bacteria and food particles. If plaque is allowed to accumulate, it creates an environment where harmful bacteria can thrive, leading to tooth decay and gum inflammation. Brushing disrupts this buildup and keeps the microbial population in check. However, it doesn't eliminate all bacteria, and that's actually beneficial because it allows a healthy microbiome to remain intact. Flossing adds another layer by targeting areas that brushing cannot reach, particularly between the teeth and along the gum line. These spaces can trap food particles and support the growth of bacteria that contribute to gum disease. By removing this material, flossing reduces the likelihood of inflammation and infection. At the same time, like brushing, it works by controlling bacterial overgrowth rather than sterilizing the area completely. Where things can become problematic is with the overuse of antibacterial mouthwashes, especially those containing alcohol or strong antiseptic agents. These products are designed to kill bacteria broadly, without distinguishing between beneficial and harmful species. While occasional use may be helpful in specific situations, such as after certain dental procedures or for managing acute issues, regular and excessive use can disrupt the natural balance of the oral microbiome. This disruption can reduce populations of beneficial bacteria that play protective and regulatory roles. One of the downstream effects of this imbalance is that it can create space for less desirable bacteria to repopulate the mouth. When beneficial microbes are reduced, the ecosystem becomes less stable, making it easier for harmful species to dominate. This can actually increase the risk of oral health problems over time, despite the intention to prevent them. It also affects broader physiological processes, such as the nitrate to nitric oxide pathway, which depends on specific oral bacteria. Another important factor is timing and frequency. Constantly exposing the mouth to strong antibacterial agents does not allow the microbiome time to recover and rebalance. In contrast, maintaining a consistent but moderate hygiene routine, brushing twice a day, flossing regularly, and being selective about additional products supports both cleanliness and microbial stability. Saliva also plays a role in this balance. It naturally helps regulate bacterial populations and maintain oral health. Overuse of certain mouthwashes can reduce saliva production or alter its composition, which further disrupts the environment. A well-functioning oral system relies on both mechanical cleaning and the body's own regulatory mechanisms working together. Approaching oral hygiene with this balance in mind allows you to protect against disease while preserving the beneficial aspects of the microbiome, ensuring that the mouth continues to support both local and systemic health. Gum health is a critical but often overlooked factor in overall health, particularly because of its direct connection to systemic inflammation and brain function. The gums are not just passive tissue that holds the teeth in place. They are highly vascularized, meaning they contain a dense network of blood vessels. This makes them a potential entry point for bacteria into the bloodstream when their integrity is compromised. When gums become inflamed, as in gingivitis or more advanced periodontitis, the barrier between the oral environment and the circulatory system becomes more permeable. This increased permeability allows bacteria and their byproducts to enter circulation, where they can trigger immune responses throughout the body. The immune system reacts by releasing inflammatory molecules, which, when sustained over time, lead to chronic low-grade inflammation. This type of inflammation is not always immediately noticeable, but it has been strongly associated with a wide range of health issues, including cardiovascular disease, metabolic dysfunction, and neurodegenerative conditions. In this way, poor gum health can act as a persistent source of systemic stress. The connection to brain health is particularly important. Chronic inflammation can affect the brain by altering blood flow, disrupting signaling pathways, and even influencing the integrity of the blood-brain barrier. Some studies have found associations between periodontal disease and increased risk of cognitive decline, suggesting that long-term gum inflammation may contribute to changes in brain function. While the exact mechanisms are still being explored, the link between oral inflammation and neurological health is becoming increasingly clear. Another factor is the direct effect of inflammatory molecules on neural processes. These molecules can influence neurotransmitter systems and neuroplasticity, which are essential for learning, memory, and mood regulation. When inflammation is elevated, it can impair these processes, leading to reduced cognitive performance and potentially increasing the risk of mental health challenges over time. This means that maintaining healthy gums is not just about avoiding tooth loss or discomfort, it is also about supporting optimal brain function. Bleeding gums are often one of the earliest signs of a problem, and they should not be ignored. Bleeding indicates that the tissue is inflamed and that the protective barrier is compromised. Even mild, consistent bleeding during brushing or flossing can be a sign that bacteria are triggering an immune response. Addressing this early, through improved oral hygiene, proper technique, and possibly professional care, can prevent progression to more serious conditions. There is also an interaction between gum health and the balance of the oral microbiome. Inflammation tends to favor the growth of more harmful bacterial species, which further exacerbates the problem. This creates a cycle where poor gum health and microbial imbalance reinforce each other. Breaking this cycle requires both mechanical cleaning, such as brushing and flossing, and supporting the overall health of the oral environment. Nutrition and lifestyle factors also influence gum health. Deficiencies in certain nutrients, chronic stress, and poor sleep can all impair the body's ability to maintain healthy tissue and regulate inflammation. This highlights that gum health is not isolated, but reflects broader physiological conditions. By maintaining strong, healthy gums, you reduce the risk of bacteria entering the bloodstream and limit chronic inflammation, which in turn supports both cardiovascular and brain health through more stable and efficient physiological functioning. Diet plays a powerful role in shaping both the health of your teeth and the composition of the oral microbiome. Every time you eat, you are not just feeding your body, you are also feeding the bacteria in your mouth. Different types of foods selectively support different microbial populations, which can either promote a healthy oral environment or create conditions that lead to decay and disease. Understanding this relationship allows you to use diet as a direct tool for improving oral and systemic health. One of the most significant factors is sugar intake. Sugars and highly refined carbohydrates are rapidly metabolized by certain bacteria in the mouth, particularly those that produce acids as byproducts. These acids lower the pH in the oral environment, which can weaken and demineralize tooth enamel over time. When this process occurs repeatedly, it leads to cavities and structural damage. More importantly, frequent sugar consumption shifts the microbial balance toward these acid-producing bacteria, making the environment more hostile to beneficial species. It's not just the amount of sugar that matters, but also the frequency of consumption. Constant snacking or sipping sugary drinks throughout the day keeps the oral environment in a prolonged acidic state, giving teeth little opportunity to recover. In contrast, spacing out meals allows saliva to neutralize acids and restore a healthier pH balance. This highlights that how you eat can be just as important as what you eat. On the other side, fibrous and whole foods support a healthier oral ecosystem. Foods like vegetables, fruits, and certain whole grains require more chewing, which stimulates saliva production. Saliva is one of the body's primary defenses in the mouth. It helps wash away food particles, neutralize acids, and deliver minerals like calcium and phosphate that are essential for maintaining strong enamel. Increased saliva flow also helps regulate bacterial populations, preventing overgrowth of harmful species. Nutrient density is another critical aspect. Vitamins and minerals such as calcium, vitamin D, and vitamin K2 contribute to the strength and maintenance of teeth and bone structures, including the jaw. Meanwhile, nutrients like vitamin C play a role in maintaining healthy gum tissue and supporting the immune response within the oral cavity. A diet lacking these nutrients can weaken the structural and defensive systems of the mouth, making it more susceptible to disease. There's also an interesting interaction between diet and the beneficial bacteria involved in nitric oxide production. Consuming nitrate-rich foods, such as leafy greens and beets, provides the substrate needed for certain oral bacteria to generate nitrites, which are later converted into nitric oxide. This process supports vascular health and brain function, linking dietary choices directly to both oral and systemic benefits. Texture and mechanical properties of food matter as well. Crunchy and fibrous foods can have a mild cleaning effect on the teeth, helping to dislodge plaque and debris. While this does not replace brushing, it contributes to maintaining a cleaner oral environment between hygiene routines. In contrast, sticky and processed foods tend to adhere to teeth, prolonging exposure to sugars and acids. Hydration also plays a supporting role. Drinking enough water helps maintain saliva production and can aid in rinsing away food particles and bacteria. A well-hydrated mouth is more resilient and better able to maintain balance. By consistently choosing foods that support beneficial bacteria, stimulate saliva, and provide essential nutrients, you create an oral environment that resists disease and supports overall health through stable microbial balance and stronger structural integrity. Saliva and breathing patterns play a fundamental role in shaping the oral microbiome and maintaining the health of your teeth and gums. Saliva is not just water, it is a highly active biological fluid that contains enzymes, antimicrobial compounds, and minerals that continuously regulate the environment inside your mouth. It acts as a buffering system, helping to neutralize acids produced by bacteria, while also supporting the remineralization of tooth enamel. Without adequate saliva, the balance of the oral ecosystem begins to shift in a way that favors harmful bacteria. One of the key functions of saliva is maintaining pH balance. After you eat, especially foods containing sugars or refined carbohydrates, bacteria in the mouth produce acids that lower the pH. This acidic environment can weaken enamel and create conditions for decay. Saliva works to counteract this by neutralizing those acids and gradually restoring a more neutral pH. This process is essential because it gives teeth the opportunity to recover from temporary demineralization. If saliva production is reduced, this recovery process becomes less effective and damage can accumulate over time. Saliva also physically clears the mouth. It helps wash away food particles and free-floating bacteria, reducing the amount of substrate available for harmful microbes to grow. In addition, it contains proteins and enzymes that directly inhibit the growth of certain pathogenic bacteria, contributing to a more balanced microbial population. This constant flow creates a dynamic environment where bacterial overgrowth is naturally controlled. Breathing patterns have a direct influence on saliva levels, and by extension, the oral microbiome. Nasal breathing supports a moist and stable oral environment, allowing saliva to function effectively. In contrast, mouth breathing, especially when it occurs chronically or during sleep, leads to dryness in the oral cavity. When the mouth becomes dry, saliva production either decreases or becomes less effective at coating the tissues, which disrupts its protective functions. A dry environment favors the growth of less desirable bacteria, particularly those associated with bad breath, gum disease, and tooth decay. These bacteria tend to thrive in conditions where saliva is insufficient to regulate them. Over time, this imbalance can lead to increased plaque formation, inflammation of the gums, and a higher risk of cavities. This shows how something as simple as breathing through the mouth can have cascading effects on oral and systemic health. There is also a connection between nasal breathing and nitric oxide. The nasal passages produce small amounts of nitric oxide, which is inhaled into the lungs and contributes to improved oxygen uptake and vascular function. While this is separate from the nitrate pathway in the mouth, both systems converge on supporting circulation and overall physiological efficiency. Maintaining nasal breathing therefore supports both oral conditions and broader aspects of health. Sleep is a particularly important context for this. Many people unknowingly breathe through their mouths during sleep, leading to several hours of reduced saliva protection. This is why symptoms like dry mouth upon waking or persistent bad breath can be indicators of disrupted breathing patterns. Addressing this, whether through conscious training, improving nasal airflow, or adjusting sleep habits, can significantly improve oral conditions. Hydration also interacts closely with saliva production. When the body is dehydrated, saliva output decreases, making it harder to maintain a stable oral environment. Drinking enough water throughout the day supports continuous saliva flow and helps preserve its protective functions. By maintaining proper hydration and prioritizing nasal breathing, you support the natural mechanisms that regulate the oral microbiome, allowing saliva to effectively protect teeth, balance bacteria, and sustain a healthier environment that benefits both the mouth and the rest of the body. Consistency in daily oral care habits is what ultimately determines whether the oral microbiome remains stable and supportive of overall health or becomes a source of chronic issues. The mouth is a dynamic environment where bacteria are constantly growing, interacting, and adapting. Because of this, one-time efforts or occasional care are not enough to maintain balance. The brain and body benefit most when oral care is repeated regularly in a predictable way, allowing beneficial conditions to be reinforced over time. Each time you brush and floss, you are not just cleaning your teeth in that moment, you are shaping the long-term structure of the microbial community. Regular removal of plaque prevents harmful bacteria from establishing dominance, while still allowing beneficial species to persist. When this is done consistently, the oral environment becomes more stable, meaning there are fewer fluctuations that could lead to inflammation or disease. In contrast, inconsistent care creates cycles where harmful bacteria can grow unchecked, only to be temporarily reduced, which leads to instability and increases the risk of problems. Consistency also affects how the immune system interacts with the oral microbiome. The immune system is constantly monitoring bacterial populations in the mouth, and when conditions are stable, it can regulate responses efficiently without excessive inflammation. However, when oral hygiene is irregular, the immune system is more likely to encounter sudden increases in harmful bacteria, triggering stronger inflammatory responses. Over time, this can contribute to chronic low-grade inflammation that extends beyond the mouth and affects systemic health. Another important aspect is that consistent habits support the integrity of the gums and enamel. Brushing regularly helps maintain enamel by removing acids and debris, while flossing protects the gum line from bacterial buildup that can lead to inflammation. These structures do not repair instantly. They rely on ongoing maintenance. When care is consistent, small issues are managed early before they develop into more serious conditions like cavities or periodontal disease. Timing and routine also play a role in reinforcing these benefits. Brushing at consistent times, such as after waking and before sleep, aligns with natural biological rhythms. Nighttime care is particularly important because saliva production decreases during sleep, reducing the mouth's natural defense mechanisms. By cleaning the mouth before this period, you minimize the risk of bacterial overgrowth during hours when protection is lower. Consistency extends beyond brushing and flossing to other behaviors like hydration, diet, and breathing patterns. Drinking enough water regularly supports saliva production, while maintaining a balanced diet consistently limits the fuel available for harmful bacteria. Even maintaining nasal breathing habits contributes to a more stable oral environment over time. These repeated actions create a cumulative effect where each day builds on the previous one. There is also a behavioral component. When oral care becomes automatic and habitual, it requires less mental effort, making it easier to maintain over long periods. This reduces the likelihood of lapses and ensures that the oral microbiome remains in a favorable state. In this way, consistency transforms oral care from a task into a foundational health behavior. By maintaining regular, high-quality oral care practices, you create an environment where beneficial bacteria are supported, harmful bacteria are controlled, and inflammation is minimized, allowing the mouth to continuously contribute to better brain and body health. When all of these factors are combined, supporting nitric oxide-producing bacteria, maintaining balanced hygiene, protecting gum health, optimizing diet, preserving saliva and proper breathing, and staying consistent, you create an oral environment that actively supports your entire physiology. The mouth becomes more than just the starting point of digestion. It becomes a regulator of inflammation, circulation, and microbial balance. Over time, these small daily actions compound, leading to stronger teeth, healthier gums, improved brain function, and a more resilient body overall.